Hello, hello, hello. My name is Charlie Cousins and welcome to episode 3A of The Presence of Art, a series of videos helping actors and artists to create with more sacredness and soul. The reason why this is 3A is that it's a huge topic that we're going to be exploring this week, and I feel like there might be a few videos to pull apart some of these underlying issues in this topic. We're going to be looking at envy, competition, and scarcity consciousness in ourselves, in our craft, in the way we approach our careers, and in the industry. So, a big topic to say the least. Stay tuned and welcome. For anyone that works in the arts industry, and particularly the Australian arts industry, I'm not saying anything new when I say that the arts industry is underfunded, undersupported and undervalued. This was the case before all the COVID stuff happened, but now after the COVID or during the COVID stuff happening, this has become even more so. You only have to look at those surveys of who the society thinks of as essential workers and non-essential workers. I think artists were placed at number one with like 79%, to see how a lot of society and a lot of politicians in particular see the arts industry and respect or disrespect the arts industry. With such few jobs around and so many artists seeking those jobs, it's no surprise that we've adopted dog-eat-dog, hierarchical, excessively competitive, insecure, voracious approach to the industry and to our craft and careers. It's a pretty massive topic, and there's a whole bunch of streams and avenues we could explore and go down, least of which talking about capitalism and how much that has infiltrated our art forms and degraded and perverted the purity or the more noble aspects of why we create and why we choose to offer these, artistic creations to the world. But I'd like to look, more personally and more intimately at how we engage in those systems, those fear-based competitive dynamics as individuals, and how we can look to transform those, face those, heal those aspects within us so that we can start to shift our reality, shift our consciousness, shift our approach to how we create our art forms, and then take that out into our community. Many would say that the big issue with the arts industry is funding, and if we were to solve those funding issues and create more levels and structures of support within the industry, then the industry could grow and get stronger and build, and many more projects would get created. And that's absolutely true. We need as much funding as we can get. But I would also suggest that the issue runs deeper than funding. It was that Einstein quote that we can't solve the problem from the same level of consciousness that we created the problem. And I think we all need to look, within ourselves and see and do a big evaluation of where we're creating problems or where we're buying into the problems that exist in the industry, and how we can individually, face those, heal those, move through those, and how that can ripple out, within our craft, within our careers, within our communities, and within the industry at large. I mean, there's no question that capitalism has, weaved its way into every aspect of society and really perverted the nobler, more ideal aspects of, industries. This is absolutely true in the arts industry. It's become about, the whole act of creation has become about making profit, getting awards, getting, prestige, and, climbing the ladder somehow. And there's such a level of hierarchical thinking in the way that the whole industry is set up that really needs to shift. The whole COVID occurrence and issue, that's been happening and that is ongoing, could be seen as a way of, or another example of how precarious the industry is and how much it's on the rocks. And I might be, naively optimistic, but I feel like there's a huge opportunity that's opened up with the whole, pandemic. There's a whole lot of structures that are being re-examined and, industries and approaches that are being re-evaluated. The Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, the diversity issues, all wonderful movements that are helping shift the industry. And hopefully they're just the start of re-evaluating how we approach our creations, how we approach our craft, and how we approach the industry at large. If any of us are buying into that hierarchical thinking, that sense of ultra competition, and there's not enough jobs out there, and 400 people are going for that job, and I've got to get that job, because if I don't get that job, then I can't climb that ladder and I can't get there, and who do they think they are, and they're not even talented anyway, that's just because they know someone, and all this kind of stuff. This fear, this doubt, this disbelief, this worry, this anxiety, this survival kind of primal mechanisms that are still so rife in our society and so rife in the industry. None of this contributes to the solutions that we're looking for, the systems, the new ideals, the new ways of approaching the world. None of these approaches that I just mentioned are helping those solutions. They're cementing and anchoring in deeper problems. This sense of power, profit, and prestige, this glamour, these illusions, the arts industry plays into that, particularly the acting industry plays into that in a huge way, sex sells, let's entertain, let's thrill and cheapen, let's appeal to the lowest common denominator. There's a lot to be examined and looked at. And if any of us are buying into that sense of, ambition, I need to get there, and I need to get, to climb that ladder, and they can't get the job, and, get out of my way, and, me, I need to be puffed up, and I need to be adulated and worshipped and have that vain glory, then even if that's running unconsciously, then that's going to undermine all of the possibilities that we can achieve and can implement for a new system. You know, there's that quote out there that the world doesn't need more successful, more famous people. The world needs more healers, more counselors, more teachers, more carers. And there's something really profound in that. This world is quite messed up and quite broken in many ways. There's a lot of amazing things that happen in our society, but there's also a lot of stunted and toxic things that occur. But if we look at that from a hopeful and optimistic point of view, there are a lot of things to love in this world. There are a lot of things to heal, and a lot of things to that need our compassion and need our goodwill and need our care. I like to think, or I like to compare the the healing modalities or the healing work that takes place, and make a comparison to the arts industry. If we look at social workers and counsellors and psychologists and psychotherapists, all of them are specialising in different fields. Through their own wounding, they've come to a position of needing to heal a particular area that they've been affected by or have had personal experience in, and they come to specialize in that particular area. Someone may have been abused when they were young, and they did a lot of healing work in that, decided that they wanted to become a counsellor or a psychologist, and through the journey that they've walked and tread, they're then able to hold a space and help other abuse victims, help other people that have had similar issues. People might have been, had an instance of, deep injustice, or criminality happened to them, or might have experienced being an orphan, or, and gone on to be a social worker and help build systems of community and care, and, raising the bar in those systems and showing a new way, a new possibility for community and caring and compassion. The idea of, three counsellors fighting over who's going to be the most famous counsellor, or who's going to do the greatest work, or who's going to help the most people, or, you can't help those abuse victims because that's the work that I'm doing. I'm helping abuse victims. It's pretty ridiculous and ludicrous. And if we compare that to the arts industry, and see, actors going, no, you can't get that part because I'm supposed to get that part, and I have to play that role, and I have to show the world how transformational I am, show the world how wise and humane I am, and how deep I can express my feelings, or tell that story. And it's pretty laughable in a way, but it's a great stark clear mirror and reflection of how much the industry needs to shift, rather than trying to tear each other down, rather than trying to claw over each other to get a particular part, or to undermine their acting work, or undermine their ability to put on a play or put on a production. None of that approach is going to help us create a a deeply caring community and a new approach to the industry. You know, they talk about, you know, when you're out on a date with somebody, or if you're having a business meeting with somebody and you're at a cafe or at a restaurant, and the way that person treats the waiter or treats, you know, the attendant, it's very revealing of their character, of who they are. You know, if they are rude, you know, to a waiter, or they talk down to them, that kind of thing. It reveals that person's character. The same can be said for, you know, actors and artists, how they approach seeing their colleagues work. You know, there's such a tendency within the industry to go and see somebody else's work and to be so threatened by it that they need to, you know, tear it down and have so much glee and enjoyment, you know, ripping it to shreds. And that deep level of insecurity needs to be looked at, you know, and we need to all acknowledge where that lives within us, where that envy, where that ultra competition, where that fear of, you know, annihilation or unworthiness or not being good enough or not being creative or unique enough, where all of that lives within us, and how we can go about shifting that, healing that, and moving through that, and choosing something more constructive, choosing something more uplifting, choosing something more of a win-win for the industry and the community. So yeah, I think you'll agree it's a huge topic. We'll continue on in the next video with envy, competition and scarcity consciousness, and I hope you can stay tuned. Thanks a lot.